Hello guys, and today we are talking about yet another update for the Mini 3 Pro. These are being fired out. So this is version 1.6.9, but this is for the remote controller version. So a full version for the remote controller one is now available. Not a firmware update, that is still the same as it was before, but this brings a remote controller firmware update. So it's a large update, it's 849 megabits, it addresses some older SD card issues, also fixes screen flickering when you were playing back photos and videos, and if anybody was having issues with their DJI FLY literally just going black or crashing when you were flying the drone in long periods of time or in hot weather, it also fixes those issues. And a lot of people were saying that it was coming back to the SD card issue was causing some of those problems, and that may be correct, because now if you use an old slow speed SD card into your controller, it won't work. So you need to look at the SD card you are using. So if you use an old SD card like this, you'll see it's got a number 1 on it. That is a class 1 speed SD card. That is now not good enough. You have to make sure you've got a little 3 here. That's a speed 3, a class 3 SD card. These are really cheap. This is a 64 gig version that I keep in my controller. If I use a class 1, so the first one I showed you, you get this message now, and you can't screen record on your controller, which is a good thing because class 1 memory cards are really slow, not good enough. If I put this SD card in, the class 3, screen recording works just as expected. So make sure you check your SD cards. And SD cards are really cheap these days. If you want the one that I use, I'll link in the description below, but make sure you just get a class 3 memory card. I use a 64 gig in my controller and 128 gig in the actual drone. So everything else relating to performance has been working okay. I've not had any app crashes, I've not had any flickerings, and I'm just putting it through different scenarios here. So the active track is working great on here in both trace and parallel. I also tried to do different things to kind of overload the system. So spotlight mode in both normal, sports and cine is working great, and no issues there at all on this really overcast, dull day. And then let's look at quick shots. So quick shots, just lob that back up to 128 meters, but check everything here. My settings have all been completely reset. So it defaults back to 1080p. Nobody wants 1080p on a Mini 3 Pro, so make sure you switch it to 4K. You don't have a Mini 3 Pro to use only 1080p. But quick shots is working great as well. So performance on this remote controller has been working fine so far. I may have been one of the lucky ones and not had any issues, to be honest, at all with my remote controller since getting this quite a while back now. But I know a lot of you have as well. So I hope that if you have had issues with either signal performance or screen flickering or app crashing, go and update this, and hopefully it will rectify some of those issues you've been having. So ultimately, from my perspective, this is really similar to the last update. It doesn't bring anything extra new, but I do hope it fixes any issues people have been having, and if it does, then that is worth it 100%. So just testing out some more of the features now. I want to make sure that we haven't lost anything and everything's working as it should. Just flying over here, look at 4K 60, look at Seagull, narrowly avoided that, and it was great at 4K 60 to be able to slow it down. So again, make sure you've got good SD cards or that will look choppy, and nobody wants that. So let's now fly and test out the obstacle avoidance and see if this still works as it should. So I'm just going to fly straight towards this, and you can see it stops brilliantly, and that's because it was in 4K 60. In 4K 25, this should now still avoid it. So I'm going to fly straight into this, and you can see there it avoids it nicely. Now if we just put it back now into 4K 60, if I fly towards this whilst recording, it will then just stop. So it just breaks just like it did before at full speed. So that's working great. If I turn the recording off and I go and do the same thing again, so now I'm not recording, it will bypass it. So it can be done. It's just literally a switch DJI needs to turn on. So let's just have a look at this again. 4K 25, it avoids that well. I'm just going to go over into this park because there's nobody else on this, and I'm just going to fly towards this and just see what it does. And you can see here it just avoids it, and it's quite smooth the way it avoids it there. So obstacle avoidance, 10 out of 10. Well, 9 out of 10. Let's just give us 4K 60 avoidance, and then it'll be 10 out of 10. Settings, everything is the same. So I'm going to fly through this. What's not the same is the settings you probably did have Like I say, everything of mine was reset. So all my photo and video settings, all my return to home settings were all reset. So go through them before flying and have a check of that. Right, this bit here now, so the return to home points, I noticed I was able to adjust the return to home point without having any Wi-Fi, which was pretty good. So this is obviously meaning that the cache storage from the last time I used this is working. What does that mean? I'll quickly explain. The DJI RC doesn't have any built-in Wi-Fi or 3G, so in the location you go into, you probably find your maps might be blank on that first time, but if you connect to your phone's hotspot, it will then load that map up, and then it stores that now as cache memory. So the next time you fly that location, and you don't need Wi-Fi then, or hotspots, or anything else like that, it will remember that cache location, and then you can adjust things without the need for connecting to any hotspot. This is an awesome update. I really do like this. So if you fly in really similar or the same locations, you can store all that map data once by connecting to your phone's hotspot, and then never need to again. This is great. Let's look at this as an example. So I'm now not connected to Wi-Fi at all, but I can drag my home point and adjust it manually by just dragging the cursor around on the screen. So I can take it all the way down here and look at the distance. It's now changed. So the distance away from the drone to me is now 409 meters. And I could go back onto it now and I can select my remote controller location. If I hit that, it now changes again and it's now back to 69 meters. And I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, so it's now storing it as cache memory. This is an awesome update. I know a lot of you will be liking this. No more faffing around connecting to 3G and 4G. All right, everything else in the settings is the same. Advanced safety settings, make sure that's correct. I would keep it on return to home. Your control settings, I would keep it on follow. And your gimbal calibration, you might need to do a gimbal calibration. Just go and check that. You can adjust the horizon line. Once you've done that, just click the X in the top corner and it will save that. Everything else is the same. The button customizations, just check that's correct if you use them. Camera settings, everything was reset, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. I would like DJI to have some kind of color assist like we have on the Mavic 3 and the Air 2S. That's what I would like in a new update. I'm sure we can get that. Transmission, I keep this just in dual band, but if you're having issues, you can select 5.8 gigahertz. Vertical mode's been working great. No problems with that at all. I would check your settings for your photo and video. Make sure you've got JPEG and RAW for photos. Mine were all reset. You probably find the same as well. But everything in vertical is working great. You've still got the ability to have active track in there, to use spotlights, take photos and videos, hyperlapse. That's all working in vertical. And vertical mode, as we know, is really good. So as an update wise, it's really good. It's nice and smooth. There's no lag. I've not had any app crashes. It'd be interesting to know your thoughts on this, but certainly for people who are having issues with the remote controller, this is the update you're going to need, and hopefully it will rectify them. Please let me know if you were having issues with the remote controller. Has this now been sorted with this update? Is there still any more issues or not? Please let me know in the comments down below. But it's a good update, and also playing back and actually deleting footage, watching it back, no flickering, and everything's really snappy. So go and enjoy this, guys. Go and get some flying over the weekend, get updating, make sure your batteries are fully charged, and check your SD cards. So that's my advice for you. Have a good day. See you soon. Bye bye.